Hello, I'm Glorious Liar, and this is another installation of my glitch explanation series. In my last video, I explained how some large sections of supposedly unskippable gameplay in Kirby Canvas Curse could in fact be skipped using some very powerful and precise glitches. In this video, I'll be going over how we could skip some other forced sections of gameplay, mini-bosses. Let's begin. There are 7 mini-bosses in the game. Mini-bosses occur in the second level of each world, and typically consist of defeating a set amount of enemies which reward you with access to an exit portal to progress. For lack of a better word, I'll be calling them mini-bosses, despite the fact they contain normal enemies. I want to go over each of them, and keep score of which ones are skippable along the way. But first, I should refresh you on some task mechanics that will come in handy. First, we have position correction, which is typically performed by drawing 2 intersecting lines such that the second originates a pixel above the original line, and Kirby will collide with it in such a way that your player may be interpreted as being attached to both simultaneously. This results in a correction mechanism that warps you back to the origin of the terminal line segment in a single frame. Knowing this, if you can activate position correction after the line being ridden has fizzled out, the warp back to the origin of the last line segment puts you in the air untethered, and the rapid change in position is interpreted as speed. I will refer to this as launching. This allows you to traverse levels at speed upwards of 10x normal max speed, which can allow you to clip into walls, floors, and objects. This is called velocity clipping. Additionally, you can clip directly into terrain or objects by activating position correction while the origin of the line segment is out of bounds. This allows you to warp directly to an out of bounds position and navigate to a new desired location. If any of this is confusing, I go over it in more detail in my last video about auto-scroller skips. On to the mini-bosses. Here's the scoreboard for keeping track of which ones are skippable and unskippable. First up we have Tiny Town. In the second area of Tiny Town, a pipe leads you to a room with 4 platforms of spear-throwing Waddle Dees. The 2 top platforms spawn a set of enemies, and the bottom platform spawns 2 sets of enemies. Killing these spawns a cannon, which shoots you up to the top of the level, where an exit portal resides. Fortunately, you spawn into the screen directly next to the exit portal, teasing you from above. But with some powerful glitches at our fingertips, we can clip directly into the wall and skip the entire portion of the level including the mini-boss. Simple enough. Next up is Growth Grasses. This mini-boss consists of popping several sets of bomb balloons that spawn in 3 locations near the ceiling. Unfortunately, the spawn of the exit portal is tied to the destruction of the final balloon, so even if we could get here from out of bounds or with some absurd speed, the exit portal isn't even spawned initially. Not being able to skip it doesn't mean we can't do it quickly. By taking advantage of invincibility frames, we can launch through multiple balloons to pop them instantly, rather than having to tap them 3 times successively to pop. Third is Contrast Cave. Collecting a max tomato at the bottom of the screen starts the fight, which consists of killing a bunch of blippers and destroying boulders, until an exit portal is spawned. It seems like this would be impossible to skip, but luckily there is an alternative exit in the room that we can take backwards to warp us right next to the end of the level. Normally you navigate to the end of the entire level and take a door back to the second section to get a medal, and return through the door you spawned by. Instead we can navigate down through the water, clip through the floor directly, a method that works underwater, and use the door as an entrance to the end of the level. This skips 2/3 of the last screen in addition to the mini-boss. Next is Dreamy Darkness. Normally you spawn into a dark room, and upon rolling to the right, a torch is lit and bombs parachute from the ceiling. You have to tap all the parachuting bombs from the ceiling to allow you to progress past the block on the right side of the room that spawns. It's important to note that the game puts a bounding box on where your camera can travel when you enter a mini-boss, and Kirby cannot break this boundary. However, using a well-placed launch, we can go so fast through the room that the startup sequence, which lights the torch, puts us on the other side of the right wall. This small startup window gives us enough time to traverse the room before the fight begins. Fifth, we have Dungeon Dome. Once you enter the ring, you have to kill a circle of Bronto Birds, kill 2 spear-throwing Waddle Dees, pop 2 bomb balloons and some flying enemies, all while attached to rotating platforms in a no-ink zone. I can attest from personal experience speedrunning this game, this is one of the hardest to beat consistently. Unfortunately, this mini-boss is unskippable, because the door does not spawn until the fight is won. The task does some clever things to beat it quickly though. It bounces off the floor at the start, hitting a wall and the choke point to turn around and kill the first enemies that spawn. Additionally, it goes out of bounds briefly to get up to the top quickly, launches through enemies as they spawn, and uses a well-placed low-power launch to the exit door. Next up is Volatile Volcano. In this mini-boss, you have to destroy some destructible floors and trigger some falling enemies to fall to their own deaths before a door spawns. That makes this one unskippable as well, since the door spawn is tied to the completion of the fight. The optimal way to approach this fight is to clip through a small corner in the room, using a clever bounce off the ceiling to get the right angle from the spawn. To beat the fight optimally, several launches are utilized to trigger each pair of enemies as soon as the game allows. Lastly, we have Mad Mechanism. Normally here you need to destroy walls blocking switches with movable bombs, and hitting all 4 switches that give you access to the exit by removing barriers. Getting to the bottom of the map by wall riding from the spawn, we can bypass the fight trigger, bypassing the meandering corridors of no ink zones as well as the fight. Once Kirby is at the right height, we can just ride lines through the floor and head straight to the barred off exit. That's it. 4 out of the 7 mini-bosses can be skipped. That's right, more can be skipped than not. When I discovered position correction clipping, launching, and everything that followed, it amazed me that I could skip over half of previously unskippable sections of gameplay. The ones remaining in the task were still able to be made entertaining, so overall I was incredibly satisfied. Anyways, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.